The current spoiler warning level is butterscotch.
Friends and folks, for this episode you're looking at a spoiler warning level of butterscotch. Now this is not Gundam. However, this is Heavy Metal L-Gaim, which is a Tomino series and one that I suspect the Great Gundam Project will cover at some point. And we do cover machines through its entire run. We don't have plot spoilers because neither I nor Dylan would be able to give them. We haven't seen all of the show yet. But, talk about some stuff that's later in the show. Anyway, please enjoy the episode. Hello friends and folks, and welcome back to another episode of Mechanista and G. I wonder if Dylan can guess how many units we've covered so far. I'm 6 Detmar. I hadn't updated it turned out, in 8 months, so I updated it.
Oh no, okay, I have no clue. Are we above 1,000?
Yes, we're above 1,000.
Are we below 2,000?
We are not below 2,000.
Oh. Shit.
Yeah, we're at 3,114.
Fuck! That's a lot of robots!
Well,
I mean,
it is a lot of robots. It's not all robots, though, right?
I mean, yes, Chris Jericho's on this list, etc., but still.
Well, listen, he's a robot. I just meant the cars.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah, there's probably a fair amount of cars. I didn't think about that.
And Emerald Weapon's arguably not a robot.
I mean,
you know, bio.
Look, yeah, you're not wrong, but yeah.
The Delphinius 3.
Well, then
Yeah,
alright,
remember
I guess
when we
there
did
are.
the crab tank? That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Anyway.
I'm just thinking. All right. So, would you like to inform the folks about what we are covering today?
Sure, yeah. So, not last week, 2 weeks ago at this point, we did a request episode, and that one ended up being the Denon Zon, but that was the second thing we rolled. The first thing we rolled, I was like, oh, I don't have material for this. We'll get back to you. Well, I was like, I can't find material for this. I'm just going to ask Dylan. I'm not going to have Dylan guess this time. Hey, Dylan, do you have material for this? And Dylan was like, yes. So this is a request from Aiden, and we are talking about the D.Sserd from Heavy Metal L-Gaim.
Yeah. So, up front, I have not watched through all of Heavy Metal L-Gaim. So, historically, I'm not going to have quite as much information, but I have a ton of pictures of this unit, and I do know, like, a bit of what is going on with it, So, yeah. Just give me 1 sec. So yeah, the D.Sserd. So, let me get... So, okay. I'll start with the Sete, actually, because that'll be the easier one to go over. There's a couple of color schemes for this friend, but, yeah, so... There's the D.Sserd. So, yeah, that's, like, the main art of it. So, essentially, the D.Sserd is... For even those who haven't seen L-Gaim but know what the original L-Gaim looks like just the Mark 1, you'll notice, and I'll just post the Mark 1 real quick for comparison, the D.Sserd is essentially a simplified version of the L-Gaim. Basically like an L-Gaim, like the gem to the L-Gaim's Gundam. As you can see there on the right, there's the L-Gaim. So, the D.Sserd, I believe, is made by the the like main allied faction, essentially as like a mass-produced L-Gaim. Now, an interesting thing with it is, like I said, it has a couple of colors. So it's standard.
I do.
Oh yeah.
Before we get started, and I'm sorry for the audio listener. This is something that the video folks will have noticed. This Sete art, has lots of good detail, shows some movement, has some illustrator pointing out things. Also has details on the margins. One of I assume a pilot doing martial arts, and then another of a pilot patting another pilot's ass with a heart over their head.
I thought that was like proposing, maybe. Is what I was.
Well, they're facing the wrong way.
Well, yeah, because I thought the person was ignoring them. That was where
I feel like my theory.
Went.
I feel like Occam's razor. My theory makes more sense.
Fair enough.
Okay, well, I guess you don't have any insight into that.
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I've only watched like the first 3 episodes of L-Gaim, basically, and then it's one that's on the back burner because it's the one I'm going to watch with someone. So that's the main issue.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So as said, the D.Sserd has a couple of different colors. Give me 1 second. So one of the problems with L-Gaim is, at least in English circles, even on like MHQ and whatnot, not quite as many images because it's just not as popular a show. So it does have the standard colors in white. However, the primary unit that gets actually like shown and referenced in things a lot is the red coloration. So let me show that. Here we are.
The Gahalisi colors.
Yes, which is the character who pilots it. Which is one of the main characters of L-Gaim.
Sure. Okay.
Here is Gahalisi. There's a figure of her, but there she is with Lilith F.A.V.N.R, who is not Cham, but actually has an identical design to Cham.
I didn't know L-Gaim had a Cham in it. I'm interested now.
L-Gaim does have a Cham in it. Okay. But yeah, no. The D.Sserd is it's an interesting unit. I quite like it, because, again, I like the L-Gaim Mark 1. In some ways, I like the Mark 1 more than the Mark 2 overall as a design, so this being just, like, a weird, simpler one is fun. It's a bit blockier, so I'll just start, my usual. So, starting with the head, for the head, we've got kind of how would I even describe this? Like, it's a weird shape. It is, kind of a big, like, not even like a forehead. It's almost like it's wearing a hat.
It feels like a
kind of a tall head. Very
kind of cardinal hat.
Yeah. You can see that. It's just kind of a tall head with it widens out around the midpoint. And on the front, it's like a forehead guard, and on the back it just widens out a little further, when going down. For the face, you have a mask, that just is a singular visor. To show the visor, give me 1 second, to pull the proper page back up, because I did accidentally move off of it, because I was grabbing the color art from this book. So here, I'm going to post for the video people, some close-ups. Here we are. Because there is one advantage to L-Gaim art as someone who loves this level of mechanical detail. Nagano loves to draw the inner frames on these guys, and you can see on the lower right, like, what it looks like underneath. So, the face is essentially like a large visor with a mask over the front of it. And then, some cables in, like, the little flat parts of the cheek, going down into the, neck area. Also has some armor in front of the neck that is, like, a bunch of, like, movable little bellowed plates going down, which is fun. And then also, common on a lot of L-Gaim designs, you'll notice these bits of gray. So these are like two little hinges, like for the neck. You can see them there. And then like behind those, you have a bunch of visible wires up close there, which is really fun. I like all the wires on a lot of the L-Gaim designs. So you've got the thicker cables in the cheeks, and then you've got a bunch of like thinner cables going on in the back of the head there.
I like the way they're tied off like braids.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, we also do with wires. I'm not,
Oh, yeah.
But, it still looks cool.
You gotta keep them, you gotta keep the bundles all, so they don't get all messed up. But yeah, so, really unique head. Not really like anything in Gundam. I'm trying to think, like, the closest Gundam designs ever get to this kind of thing is, I feel like, the closest Gundam ever gets to this is maybe stuff like the V.A.V.N.R, I guess. Like, the V.A.V.N.R is like the one design that pops in my head when I'm thinking of like when I'm thinking of a head shape that is similar. Well, just because like the V.A.V.N.R's got a tall head. It's more like a helmet than like the hat look, and it's got the Mohawk camera, which is always like very Gundam to have the Mohawk cameras. But just the visor and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's just not. It is funny because it's like this is like a design that is a known design from the 80s, but it is actually pretty unique among things we've covered. I feel like just design wise.
You're not wrong. The whole obviously the head shape is different than what I'm about to say, but the whole design is so much giving like the Hyakushiki family of machines to me.
Yeah, which Hyakushiki is based on Nagano's one of Nagano's designs for the original.
Yeah, so. But it does there are points of this that specifically remind me of the Kai or the mass production and elements here, which are Fujita, but it's all Fujita working off of Nagano.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and one of the things that really is very Hyakushiki is look at the way the torso is. We'll cover it, but look, specifically the way that midsection is reminds me a lot of the midsection on the Hyakushiki. Just having the gray middle section that is a bit more it's got some vertical panel lines on it and is a bit more rounded than Gundam things typically are, because usually you just go for a square torso on mobile suits, which is I just think is interesting, like this midsection.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for the torso, you've got basically two sections. You've got an upper and lower section. The upper section is red armor. It has, on the front half, almost three sections. You've got a midsection, and then two pectoral sections. It's not really separated as cleanly as pectorals tend to be in Gundam, where the middle is usually thinner. The middle's really wide here, and you mostly just have panel line details going on with it. There are two panel line little markings on the outside of either pectoral, and then some little dots on the bottom of the middle armor section. Then you have the lower section, which I mentioned, which is essentially gray. It's interesting because it almost looks like it would be a softer kind of material. It's not, I don't think. It's just rounded. And even the way it's drawn on the line art here, the lines are just to emphasize the shape of it. But yeah, it's a bit more rounded and organic looking, and it's just some gray armor going around the midsection, covering all the inner bits.
Sorry to pop in again. I kept looking. I feel like the head design is almost referenced with the Hyakunishiki, because it's this taller style, and you can see the D.Sserd here has this V slit of the head with a little notch, and the Nishiki has that as well, just going down.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if honestly, it wouldn't be the first time. There's a couple of mecha designers that love to overtly make certain designs a bit more Nagano. There's that whole team in the one build spinoff that is using, they have a Hyakushiki, a Cubelate, and an Astray, and all three of them are trying to look very much like Nagano designs. Like, more almost like caricatures of Nagano designs is maybe how I'll word it, in terms of, like, how they're emphasizing elements on all three of those suits, which is interesting.
Fair. Anyway.
Yeah. Some other details on the torso. Underneath the sockets for where the arms are, it's got like a couple of these like little just like pleated sections of armor. There's 3 of them under each arm, which is kind of fun. Also lots of visible frame there on the inside of the arm. You can see a little bit. The frame is like, it's not really a gold. What would you even call that color? It's like a
It's like a silver. It's like a white gold. Kinda.
Yeah, it's an interesting color. It's not super shiny either, though. Like, usually whenever it is shown, like, with models and whatnot, it typically is, like, just that color, but not glossy. It's flat, which is... So I guess it's just like a tan, almost. That is maybe how I would describe it. It's...
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
It's a weird color. Like, here's the robot spirits of the D.Sserd.
Huh. Yeah, I assumed they were just trying to do, like to evoke metallic, but I guess they weren't.
Yeah, it's an interesting color. The shoulders on this design are kind of large, more just like a rounded rectangular shape. You've got these indentations at the base of the shoulder, which appear to have, they're not colored in or anything, but to me they just feel like they would be sensors or something, just given the, you've got like a little circular part in there. And then on the outside of the shoulder, you have another circle. They are hollow underneath, obviously. Going all the way the length of the bottom, it's hollow. So, like, if the arm needs to be raised, it can, it's not going to be obstructed by the shoulder armor. For most of the length of it. The bicep is just a simple square bit of bicep armor. You have a very interesting joint going on here. It is just like a single axis joint. It is just like a circle that has, a cut in the middle of it. It's almost just like 2 circles basically connected. Usually in a lot of our designs we're used to seeing the double joints, so it's just interesting seeing like a specific kind of single axis go on here. And then for the forearms, so it's really fun with how it's holding the arm here, right? Because that's actually like the bottom of the arm, because the arms are able to rotate all the way around on there, and the hands are able to rotate. So it's fun when you see how the right arm, the way it's raised, you can see the underside on top, which I just think is interesting, just to show off how it has like an opening in the armor. So the armor itself, the way it's designed is, it is like square and flat. One side is completely armored, and then the sides of the arm have almost like half of the armor is there. It's a bit more open in the middle of it, and then pops up a little where the joint and the wrist are. And then the underside of it is basically completely bare, and you've got 2 visible cables running through that, along with a lot of like visible inner frame and piston there, which is fun. The wrist itself, then, you've got some more whitish armor around the wrist. I say white, you know what it is? It's very, like, double Zeta white, where it's, like, got a little bit of, like, the blue on it there.
Yeah.
And then, the hands, you've got these kind of long, little, like, gangly-looking hands. They're not, like, your usual hands where it's, like, a boxier hand with a cover on it. It's just, like, these very mechanical hands that are kind of thin at the fingers, and then like the palms and the back of the hand are a lot thinner than usually you do get with a lot of the mecha we cover. Little mechanical detail lines on them, which is fun. Then the other thing of note is on the arms. Specifically the right arm and the left arm both, they have these are meant to be like hardpoint sections here. They don't really look like your typical ones, but just to take a picture of it with like the equipment on, you can see though it's not like it holds the shield and the gun that this uses, the little buster there, attach onto like that little, this like middle section of the armor. So, yeah. Just to show that. So, moving on, the waist is, you have like a singular crotch plate. The way this is designed, I'm trying to think of what this is reminding me of. It's very upside down from a normal Gundam one, because it's like got a more of a bump of armor at the top of it, and then the bottom of it is smaller and fallen back a bit more for like the flat bottom of the like crotch area. Instead of having like skirts, you just have these two little plates, one on either side of the waist there. And then you've got some red armor, but it's not really like a side skirt there. And then more armor on the back. The back is identical to the front, but a bit more flat. Like the front of the waist it goes up a little higher on where the torso is, and the back is a bit more flat there. Simple design though. Then when we hit the legs you've got, you can see the whole connection of how these are connected into the waist, like, because there's no skirts, you can just see the whole leg there. And then you have large plates of armor that look like they would be the side skirts, but they're actually connected into the sides of the leg. Which we've had that on a couple of Gundam designs, but yeah. The side skirts, or the side leg armor, pop down a fair bit. You've got a bigger box on the outside of them, nearer to the top, that protrudes out. And then the legs, not a ton of detail on them. You have a panel line running down like the inner part of the thigh there, that is visible, but not like a lot of other detail on the legs.
On the upper leg, at least.
Or the lower leg.
Is a mess of detail.
Yeah, we'll talk about the lower leg. Sorry, I meant just the thighs, I should say. You do get, right before the joint, you get almost like, it's not really a knee armor. Well, I guess it is. It's weird. It is connected way higher than usual, than knee armor usually is. I usually associate like knee armor, again, on the usual mecha fare we cover, as being like an extension on the like lower leg on the front going up. And it still has armor on the lower leg on the front going up, but the bigger piece of armor is actually on the, like, connected around the bottom of the thigh there. And it, is around the front, you have the larger bit of armor, and then it has two smaller bits, going out to the side of the leg on either side. It also has, on the back of the leg, a little bump of armor as well, right before where the joint is. As for the joint itself, you have a lot of visible joint, again, that same kind of tannish color for the inner frame there. Two cables running down the, from the bottom of the thigh into the lower leg there. But yeah, a lot of visible, like, mechanics going on here, which like I said, I really like and appreciate on a lot of the L-Gaim designs. As for the lower legs, the bottom, or the top of the lower legs here, you've got, like, these little, like I said, it's almost like knee armor, but not really. It's not really what I would consider, like, usual, but it does protect the front of the joint there. And then the armor for the calves is mostly focused on the front. It's protecting all the inner stuff from the front. If you look from the back, though, there's a back plate of armor that is movable. It is able to pop up. And then there's a lot of mechanics going on here. You've got, visible pistons on the inside where the little flat plate here pops up. Just lots of inner detail on the leg here, though. That is, again, just inner mechanics that look really nice. You also have kind of a thruster, what appears to be a thruster on the outside of the leg here. Just on the outside side. And protrudes out more on that side, on the outside of each leg. The cables that are on the top of the leg, you can actually see the cable that is on the outside, how it runs all the way into the top of this little like thruster box there. As for the feet, you've got some not even really instep guard there, protecting the top of the foot. A singular large toe going forward, and then as for the heels, you have two clawed reverse heels there, very flat, but just on the backside, and they are splayed out a little. Finally, for a backpack unit, this unit has two large, basically, binders on the back. You can see there's, thruster parts on the top there that are open, and then it's got these two little pop-down wings that I believe have, a thruster running along the length of them. And then they're a little thick. They have, these thick little boxes at the bottom, and again, more of, a thruster. A lot of the thrusters on this design feel like they're doing you have lots of lines. How would I describe this? It's not like jet engines or anything. It's just little flat nozzles basically.
I have to assume that L-Gaim is not a very flight heavy show.
You would actually be a little bit incorrect. Well, you see how, the legs have those little parts that pop open? At least from what I've seen, a lot of L-Gaim designs actually will do that so that it slows their descent. I guess it's not really flying, it's jumping and then falling. Yeah, falling more slowly.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because, again, just to show the original L-Gaim for comparison, you can see the L-Gaim's legs. Instead of having them on the back, the entire side panel opens up. And so, when those open up, usually it also has thrust that is going down. So, I'm assuming it increases air resistance, and then also, you have some thrust going down so that it slows the descent. Which is
sure.
fun. But yeah. This is a design that I think is really cool, though. Again, I like the L-Gaim Mark I itself quite a bit, so, this design is itself really neat to me, just because it's what if there was a red L-Gaim that is a bit more boxy? Because I would argue that, having a few depictions of the L-Gaim tends to be more rounded, the shoulders are more circular on the L-Gaim, the head is a bit more rounded. This kind of flattens it out, which, again, if you're making, a mass production version of something, that makes sense. Another thing of note is, so with the armaments, you have the Buster there, the power launcher, is the name of the smaller gun attached to the wrist there. And the power launcher, you can see actually has a cable that runs into one of the you can see the side skirts have these little ports. That is a common thing on a lot of the L-Gaim designs, is to have weapons that actually, they have to plug into the robot, the mecha. Usually it's the middle of, the crotch armor that'll have, 3 ports. So this one's kind of an interesting one by having these, little side portions be, where the plug goes into. The cables are also fun because, at least to me, from the ones I've seen, they almost remind me of, guitar cables, the ones that go into, an
sure.
amp, the thicker ones. They're kind of like that. Which, they are heavy metals, so... but yeah, the cables tend to remind me a bit of, this style of cable. For the video folks. Just, guitar into amp cables. I don't know the technical name for those kind of cables. But yeah, I quite like the D.Sserd. It is a fun design. I again, this is like one of the ones where it's like, well, I have not seen the show, admittedly, so I don't know how much use it gets. I assume a fair bit, given that there's a couple of colors for it. Then
all we've seen is the red. Do you have some examples of the other colors?
Oh yes, sorry. So this is from an older book. Images sourced from MAHQ. But here, the standard colors are a bit more like the original L-Gaim's colors, where it's like, you know, a bit of an off-white.
I like that off-white with the green. That looks good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe I'm double checking. Yeah, I'm thinking that when it comes to like the robot spirits of the D.Sserd, that it only ever got the red one. L-Gaim is one of those lines that feels like it was kind of unceremoniously killed before they finished everything, so it's got like a weird smattering of like a lot of the robot spirits, but not all of them, which is interesting.
I see.
Yeah. I mean...
And no HGs or anything.
No, not... Well... well, it's not an HG, no. I was thinking, I'm wondering if, when they did the newer HG, L-Gaim, they did do, like, a little set of, the older models, and I'm curious if the D.Sserd is one of the ones that actually got a, release with the older ones there. Because they did, like, a pack of, the older ones. I believe they did that with, like, no, they did that with Dragon-R. Dragon-R is the one they also did that with. And F.A.V.N.R. So, yeah, like, when they've done, like, the modern P-Bandai, like, updates, or, you know, versions of them, you know, they've done these, little packs of the old ones that you could buy on Premium Bandai as well. I'm trying to see if I can find the L-Gaim one. Ah, here we are. No D.Sserd in these, looking at it. Oh, wait. Hold on, is that the D.Sserd in the second set? Yes, I believe that is the D.Sserd. These are very old models, so, let me double check, is that the D.Sserd? It looks a little... No, that's the Balbood on the left, actually. Sorry, that is the Balbood, which is... kind of has some similarities, but not quite.
I like the guy in the middle.
That is the, is that the Graya, I believe? Or Graya? But yeah, no, that's a fun one. And then the one on the right is one we'll be talking about soon.
Alright.
Yeah. So, you know, you have the original D.Sserd here. And then, the other related machine to the D.Sserd, is the novel D.Sserd, as it is called. So let me get the images of that.
Oh, because it's really novel.
Well, I mean, I was thinking it's like how, you know, there's the novel,
yeah.
That
was my assumption too.
The novel Jim is the one I was thinking of, you know. Or no.
Wait, there's not a novel Jim. There's like a novelle, Jim, which is like French for something. Right?
I was assuming they had the same root, given that they are one letter off from one another. Like, etymologically.
Yes, but you don't use novel, like, you know how you can use novel in English to be either a book or to be like, you know,
that
like,
is a novel
how,
thing.
you know,
yeah.
Right. I think novelle you can only use as the second definition. You can't refer to a book that way.
I'm actually curious.
Because I'm looking at this. I'm not just guessing. I'm looking at...
Well, I was just curious about the katakana that is used for them real quick, if it uses the same one.
Oh.
It does use the same katakana for both. The Jim is...
Interesting.
Nuberu. You can see it there. Nuberu. And then, as you can see here, with the D.Sserd, it is... Sorry, taking a screen cap of that.
Well, to be fair, it's not Nuberu, it's Nuberu. They hold it a little bit.
Okay, I didn't pronounce the hold, sorry.
Well, I think if we're distinguishing between novel and
what
nouvelle,
I'm saying is they use the same katakana on both of them, though, as you can see.
Sure, fair. So I think probably it should be the nouvelle.
Fair enough.
D.Sserd.
Anyway, so for that design, let me get the, here we have the sete. And I'll, let me get the color art, and then, yeah. This is a fun friend. This one I actually have the robot spirits of, because I really like the design. It reminds me a lot of the Gaplant before the Gaplant was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I definitely was getting Gaplant vibes.
Yep. Here's the coloration for it. And then I also can grab a couple of more detailed art on it as well. Just like close-ups and whatnot. Here we are. But yeah, no, the way the binders are just very much is reminding me of the Gaplant. Just, you know, like I said, before the Gaplant, because L-Gaim predates Zeta. You know what? I will let you arrange them for the video, because you're the one who's actually filming, so...
Yeah, fair enough.
That way I'm not, messing that up.
Let's see, what is the best way to do this?
So yeah, so this design, going off the name and, just what I kind of know of it from, it appearing in things, the D.Sserds are already, based on the L-Gaim. Then the D.Sserd here almost feels like it's interesting because it, especially with like some of the elements like the backpack and whatnot, this is very much like the L-Gaim Mark II. The L-Gaim Mark II has a large like middle piece on the backpack, and it's got 2 thrusters going down. Just the overall lankier kind of aspect of the design, having a taller headpiece and whatnot, just feels like basically, this one's inspired by the L-Gaim Mark II, which would make sense as an upgrade to a thing based on the L-Gaim Mark I. But yeah, it's a very cool design. So to start with the head is almost like a, it's almost like a knight helmet kind of thing here as well. I'm trying to think of like what kind of helmet it has me thinking of. It's almost like a Roman helmet in style,
Huh.
Not the back of
sure.
it, but like just the shape of like the front of it and the way it rests on the head above the eyes. But yeah, you have a large cut in the front, probably some type of camera or sensor or visor in there. You have a large on the back of this large like mohawk piece almost, very tall vertical. Ends in a bit of a point, though it does pop forward a little bit at the top of it, which is interesting. You get these little panel lines around the sides of the head there. It has like a bit that pops down and runs around the back of the head, some armor protecting around the neck and whatnot. You have a embedded face mask in there. There's a bit of a gap between the mask and the top for, like, little thin visor eyes almost. You have some cables running from the back of the head, behind the armor, into the neck area, along with the thinner cables as well running down. The front of the neck, you get this bit of, like almost like a flat cabley piece. I know that on at least the robot spirits, those tend to be movable when you're moving the head up and down, like this piece right here. It's just like this thin, flat, like, cable, almost. This is a really cool-looking head, though. I like this head a lot. Or not even, you know what? It's not a Roman helmet. It's like a hoplite helmet, a Greek helmet that I'm thinking of, I think. Let me show what I mean. Or, sorry, Corinthian helmet is what those are called usually. Just instead of having the Corinthian, like, mohawk, though, I was thinking of it having the, it has this big piece on the back. But I was just thinking, just with the way it hangs over the face, like that right there.
Yeah.
And just made me think of that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like the head very much.
Oh, you don't like this head?
I don't know, it just feels like it's a lot of, like, the shapes are exaggerated in a way that makes it kind of lose definition to me.
Fair enough. For the torso area, you've got a larger plate in the middle, kind of the same separation. You've got a plate in the middle that juts forward, and then you have two pectorals. Not a ton of detail, again, it's mostly panel lining going on here. For the lower torso, you've got the gray going around the midsection as expected. However, this has some, sections of red armor running down the middle there, that are just in the front middle of the chest. For the shoulders, we've got these large boxy shoulders, that go out a fair bit. They have these, again, it's just like these darker red sectioned plates going over on the side. You have basically 3 squares running the length of the shoulder on the front. They are also on the back. And then on the outside of either shoulder, you have a large binder connected to them. And these binders, as you look to the bottom, they have a little beam weapon at the end of each of them. Again, this is the thing that makes this feel very Gaplant, is they feel very much like these large binders that operate both as shields and weapons. I really like the design of these, though.
I don't suppose this has a transforming mode.
I don't believe so. If it ever does anything close to transforming, it would simply lay down, is maybe the way I would put that. It is not like a transformation. Sure. Yeah. Moving on, the biceps are kind of boxy in design. They're not as simple as the original D.Sserd. You can see that there is an indentation at the bottom of either bicep on the front or back. Then for the joint, you can see that there are visible cables on the inside there where the joint is. And then around the outside, you have these little dark gray plates covering around the outside of the joint there to keep them protected. Then for the forearms, armored around the side and the outside here, the outside has more of that square red armor, kind of the same theme going on as the shoulder and the torso there. You also get these larger red plates around the outside on the wrist area of either side. And then on the very outside of the armor, behind the back of the palms, when it's in its default rest state, you have these, almost like little knuckles popped forward. It's not what they are, it's just armor that pops ahead of the fist, but just armor that is kind of pointy. Not like a super strict point, it's a little flat at the end, but yeah.
By the way, acknowledging the obvious for folks, all this art has novel written out in, Latin characters, the Novel,
yeah.
So I'll drop my Nouvelle thing. It's fine. I lost.
Yep. Sorry. I will say the inside of the wrist, though, is still pretty bare. Just to show, an image of how it is on the model, just because it's easier to see than on the, Sete. Well, actually, there is the one... Oh, okay, I see what happened. That Sete got shrunk over there. But you can see, there's a large, gray piece on the inside of the wrist, and you can see the cables that run from the bicep. You can actually... They're still visible down the, the inside of the arm as well.
Do they have beam sabers in this setting?
Yes. Yes, they do. Oh, I should have mentioned that the regular D.Sserd has 2 beam sabers as well.
Okay.
Yeah. The beam sabers for this design are kept in the wrist, very, much like the Cubile does. Just to show that here, for video people, you can see, the sabers kept in that, large cylindrical piece that runs down the length of the, inside of the arm there. It pops out. So,
shoutouts to MAHQ, the only place on the internet that actually has this stuff, but, I'm afraid, Chris, we're gonna have to ask you to change that, because it says here that it's stored in the binder.
Oh, for, the novel D.Sserd?
Uh-huh.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's, you can see, on the wrist here, it's described as a saber rack, and then there's the saber popping out. But, yeah, then the hands are hands. Moving on.
Wait, does that mean it can do the thing where it, like, basically it looks like it's popping out of its sleeve? Like, it just sort of flexes its hand to the same... That's cool!
Yeah. And then, moving on to the waist, again, very blocky waist, no defined skirts going on with this, just like a frontal crotch piece, a little bit going around the sides, of the waist there, and then, flat plate on the back, basically. More standard to, like, other, L-Gaim designs, especially, like, a lot of the A-class heavy metals, because in universe they are given, class designations. There's A-class and B-class, heavy metals. This has, like, the 3 cable parts on the front of the crotch there, which is a bit more common, of a layout on a lot of the designs, at least a lot of the main designs that I'm aware of. Again, need to watch the show, I really want to watch it, but, you can see that, like, some inner, thigh mechanics there, where it's connected into the waist, and then you've got armor that goes around the leg there. The thigh armor here is interesting, because it doesn't have, like, the skirt pieces like the, normal D.Sserd has. But, I like the way that the armor is, like, a little oversized for the joint, so you can see, like, the inside of the leg there a bit. Which is it's just a fun detail, having, like, the armor kind of wrapped around it like that. It's a bit thicker around the top where it's connected into the waist, and then it thins out nearer to the bottom. It's a bit, it does have, like, a flat cut. The leg is actually mostly rounded, but you can see it's got, like, these flat cuts in the front, and it also, pops forward a little bit, right above the joint area. For other details, you have a panel line going down the inside of the thigh, similar to the D.Sserd. For the legs, visible inner frame going on there with the leg. I will say it's interesting because, like, the arm on the D.Sserd, and I believe even on this, is kind of more of, like, a single axis thing going on. But then the legs on both designs have been, like, kind of, like, more of a visible double joint going on here between, like, the upper part there and this lower part. You also have visible cables on the back of the leg there. For the knee armor, you do get the knee armor on the lower leg here. Just kind of pops up and is a little bit separate. The flat area of armor around the sides of the knee is colored in the darker red. You also have, as you hit the bottom of the legs, some red little plates going on there.
Like sort of a wing-like shape.
Yeah, only on the inside of the legs, too. It's actually not on the outside, only on the inside. And then for the feet, you've got a large frontal toe and then 2 separate rear heel pieces, along with almost like a hooked piece between the 2 rear heel parts that kind of pops up there. And then for the backpack, you have kind of a 3-section binder. You have a large middle section there, popped up, and then you have 2 large, like, thruster sections on the binder on either side, and these can rotate, as you can see there, and just opens up into a large thruster. And then also on the back of these, you have more of having the darker red plates run down them. You can see them there. I'm trying to see, is there a rear bit of colored art in here? I don't think there is, unfortunately. Not in this book. Not in the Perfect Establishment book, at least. I have a couple other books that I could try to look through. It's always weird with, It always makes me sad when we are covering non-Gundam things and how, not, like, completely, but generally speaking, it always feels like it's just harder to get consistent materials out of all the books. Though I honestly do think that the Perfect Establishment has most of the materials there, seemingly, so, yeah. But yeah, I quite like this upgrade. Like I said, I like the Kaplant. I like the binders a lot on this design, just because they remind me of the Kaplant. And the binders are able to rotate around as one would expect, just to show that in action. Here's the robot spirits. You can see them popped forward there. So they are able to rotate every which way and whatnot. I quite like.
I like how it looks in figure
Mhm.
form.
The other one of the other weapons that this can use, which is important for the cables, there is a Buster Launcher, which is a large cannon. This weapon is kind of common among a lot of the L-Gaim designs. They tend to use this large rifle, which is a really cool design. And I also really love that it uses 3 cables that run into the 3 plugs there. Probably another reason why a lot of them have the 3 plug setup is that way they can, if they are A-class heavy metals and they are using this launcher, they all plug in there like that. But I really like the Buster Launcher's design. It's, like I said, it's kind of a common weapon among a lot of the stronger heavy metals. And it's really cool looking. It's a good looking gun.
Yeah.
And and again, the 3 cables is just a very striking look.
I also like, it doesn't seem to have a clear, like, does it have like a side handle or something?
Yes, here. Let me show that so that you can see it there, but it's on that side, actually, which is fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, because it kind of makes sense that you would hold it under the arm like that, for a larger one, rather than on the outside or above, which I think is really fun. And then, of course, it has like a pop down. It is able to pop down a bipod if necessary too. Yeah, it's a really cool design. I do really like the Buster Launcher. But yeah, very very neat design. Like you said, I quite like this design. I know you're not as big a fan of the head, but
yeah, the head I don't like as much, but everything else about this design I think is really cool.
There it is, hanging out with.
And I also like the original
L-Gaim Mark II there. So yeah, so the D.Sserds are pretty fun. Yeah, no, okay, so this is like a thing that we were debating before. I was like, okay, well, if we're talking about the D.Sserd and it's essentially a gym, well, we want to talk about the L-Gaim. The problem is, talking about the L-Gaim Mark 1 and 2, admittedly, with those being the main suits, I would definitely want to watch more of the show. Also, they have so much more art and stuff going on with them. So, I think this fulfills enough of the request for now.
Are you ever gonna watch more of it?
Yes, I will. I will watch more.
Okay.
Yeah.
We better come back to it, because I like this stuff. Nagano's a cool artist.
Nagano's a cool artist, and here's the thing. I'm just gonna say, as someone who likes a lot of the designs from the show, there's a lot of good designs in L-Gaim. It's not just like, like if we extended it today, we would talk more about the L-Gaim Mark 1 and 2. But here's the thing. All the designs in L-Gaim would be so cool to talk about. Because, they're really good, is the thing. There's stuff like the Oges that I think are really cool. Let me share these, just to throw them out here, just to have you, Also, you have a lot of things. Maybe also watch L-Gaim. This is more Tamino homework.
It's possible that while this was recording, I arranged for the Oops All anime that comes out 2 days before this to be L-Gaim.
Odd. Here's one of my favorite designs. This is the Ashura Temple. This is actually...
Oh, right, you've shown me this one.
This
cool,
is
though.
Probably my favorite, just in terms of raw design. But, like, all of Nagano's work for L-Gaim is great. I love a lot of the design. Most of the designs, if not all of them, in their own ways. Even, like, we brought up the Graia, and, like, the Graia itself has a bunch of variations, just to show some of those off. So even, like, the goofier, like, little guy... Oh, it duplicated. Weird. Even, like, the goofier little guys have, like... Look at all these. There's so many good little weird guys. I love them.
Yeah.
And they still have, like, a lot of the same elements, You got, like, the visible cables and whatnot going on with them, like, on the arms. It's fun, because even, like, with their shape being weird, you can still tell that these are very distinctly Nagano designs. Again, very, very fun, very fun designs, and I mean, he's a good designer. It was a shame that someone seemingly from Bandai kept throwing him off projects when Tamino would be like, hey, can we work on something together? Throughout the 80s, between Double Zeta, CCA, etc.
Uh-huh.
I believe we talked about like his CCA work, though. Actually, maybe not. Maybe that was before the Beyond the Time book that had a lot of the materials, including Nagano's designs. But anyway, yeah. Well, bit of a short one this week, but look, we can have a short one every now and then.
Let's toss something in at the end.
Oh, do you want to?
Right?
Okay.
There's just we haven't done a cleanup episode in ages, and there's, a bunch of little things, and let's just do one of them real quick,
Okay,
right?
Yeah, sure. Which one did you have in mind?
Well, you're gonna have to guess.
Oh, okay, yay. That way you can implement a guess into the episode. That's fun.
Uh-huh.
Alright, let's see.
We don't have, a million years, so I'll give you a decent starting point.
Okay. Is this the prototype Double Zeta?
This is the prototype Double Zeta Nitro.
Yeah, this is the one with the Nitro system from, is it Last Sun that it's from? It's from one of the Unicorn spin-offs.
I think that's right,
yeah.
Yes. I am moving the image right now, but I will check after I'm done doing that.
Did we talk about the regular prototype Double Zeta, just not this version of it?
I believe I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah, it's been a while.
This is indeed from Last Sun, and then I have...
God, we covered Double Zeta, that was in 2021.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, we did cover the prototype Double Zeta and Double Zeta B-type.
Yeah.
Which this one matches more of the B-type, I believe, mostly because, if you look at the head, it has the high mega...
Oh, wait,
no, the B-type's the different one. What?
No, we're gonna have to... I'm gonna move this out of frame.
Uh-huh.
We forgot something.
What did we forget?
The flicker.
Oh, yeah, sorry. That is the, So, rather than a core fighter, on the L-Gaim, you've got kind of like a core little rideable hovercraft. And that slots into, the chest, actually. Let me, pull it up. Sorry, I'm completely spaced on, covering that part of it. Heavy metal... Okay.
Very Mazinger, huh?
Mm-hmm. Just rather than being in the top of the head, it's embedded in the chest. And let me find the opening cockpit so I can show... Because the cockpit area is actually quite roomy due to where that goes into on the chest. On the novel D.Sserd. I believe the regular D.Sserd also uses one of these. I just don't know where the cockpit hatch is on it. Let's see. Novel D.Sserd. Here we are. Okay, yeah, so for the novel D.Sserd, you can see that the chest opens quite wide, and you can see there's a little room in there for it, and you can see here's the collapsed flicker in there, because you can see like the little outside, these two parts go inward, and then this part collapses up when it's parked, as it were. So yeah, it ends up having this larger kind of cockpit block to accommodate this. You can see some details of the cockpit block there.
That's kind of fun. Like, it's, the way the, core fighters and stuff work, where it's like, it's all already integrated, but it's fun to have some of it integrated. And
also, like, seeing, like, some of the inner mechanics that you get by it having to be, inherently a larger room.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a fun little design. And also the bike is cool. If I'm just being honest, like, as a hover bike design, I think this thing's fun,
Yeah, bike's cool.
Yeah. Apologies, though. I guess, yeah, I should have mentioned that.
I got you.
Fair enough. Alright, now, prototype Double Zeta. So...
Yeah, now we bring you back in frame.
So the prototype Double Zeta, this one is, like I said, more explicitly based on the B-type, because the B-type is the one that has the high mega cannon on the head. And, well, this very obviously has a prototype high mega cannon going on with the head. The other major differences on the Nitro design is, besides the internal difference of the Nitro system we'll talk about, mostly it is one of those designs that feels like it's cleaning up, like, the MMSV design, in my opinion, with what it's trying to do. Let me pull it up for comparison. Because, the prototype Double Zeta is an MMSV design, very blocky, and it's very 90s Okawara, because, MMSV. But, like, you know, when you look at, like, the legs and whatnot, like, you know, the legs don't have as drastic of, like, vents in them, and, like, a lot of the thrusters have shrunk down a little bit. Again, it feels, you know, thinking about, like, Kotoki with the G-line suits, you know, just feels like it's trying to make this match more of a modern Gundam aesthetic.
But this is Ishiwatari on this?
Yeah, Makoto Ishiwatari. Who is, I believe, Last Sun's artist in general? Yeah, he does the designs for Last Sun in general.
He feels very inspired by Kotoki's work.
Yeah, which I think that's common among guys in, you know, the aughts.
Sure.
I feel like... Hell, I feel like even people like Ebikawa and Yanase and whatnot are definitely, like, feel like their designs are a bit more inspired by, like, Kotoki's brand of art. But, yeah, the,
Ooh.
Yeah?
Really cool shots of the head here.
Oh.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
That's cool.
I do like all the extra external cables. The head also differs quite a bit, from the original, if only just in terms of proportions, right? Because there's the original one. Does retain elements that I really like, though, like having, like, these cooling flaps open on the back of the head because of the high mega can. Because you have a giant fucking ridiculous overpowered beam launcher in the head, which is always, you know, maybe not the greatest place, and, like, you know, different cheek design, but also keeps the cables on the back of the head, which are really cool. As came up with, like, the L-Gaim designs, I like cables quite a bit. But yeah, so the main addition of this design, though, besides, like, having the more modern kind of aesthetic to it, is the NITRO system, which is the new type injection trace reformed old type system. The NITRO system is interesting because it's also on the Delta Kai. The NITRO system is strange to me because when I played the Unicorn PS3 game, when that came out, and they made a big deal about the Delta Kai as a Unicorn MSV suit, the one that's in that game did not, I'm pretty sure does not mention the NITRO system, and it definitely does not do the NITRO system effect of looking like you were covered in blue flames. It's really weird to me that, for whatever reason, in Last Sun and whatnot, and was the one Across the Sky 0094, the NITRO system now makes you fucking emit blue flames as, like, a super mode.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, so it was originally developed by the Titans to allow the Psycho Gundam to operate more smoothly. It was deeply flawed in that it would burn through the pilots and reduce them to a vegetative state after a single use. The later version was improved and no longer burns through the pilot. However, prolonged use would cause the pilot to become more aggressive and violent. It's a Zero system, I see.
Sure.
And yeah, so it is a system that, quote unquote, grants new type abilities to old types. I hate the way that's worded. I hate that. Because that is, again, boiling new types down simply to, you know, a combat ability rather than... Which I know, like, within Gundam is itself, like, a tragedy, but when you codify it as, oh yeah, you just turn this on and now you've got precognition and whatnot, that makes me feel weird. I don't know. Like, when you just have it unlocked through technology in that way. I guess it doesn't bother me as much with, like, you know, artificial new types / cyber new types, because it is, like, it clearly does not affect them in the same way, whereas this, it's just like, oh yeah, just turn it on and now you pilot like a new type does. Feels, I don't know, my brain just does not like the way that is worded. I know I'm being a bit prissy about this, but whatever.
I would like it better if the side effect wasn't that it made them more violent. If it was like the side effect was like they start to get too empathetic and they have trouble killing people. Like, well, because
they feel everything. It's, yeah,
like,
no, they you would think it would be like, oh yeah, expanding consciousness, quests during her sortie when she's like starting to have her new type things go on, and it's like, oh, I feel everyone dying around me. This actually is really scary and awful. Rather than I become a sicko because I used the super mode too long. It would feel more on brand with the theme.
Yeah.
However, though, yeah. So the design here, though, again, mostly it's superficial in a lot of its changes. It does have different decals as well. Should mention. But yeah. I quite like this design, though. I mean,
yeah,
I
think it's cool.
I like MMSV designs is the thing. I really like that era of Okawara's artwork, and Oh, I guess one other major change. I'm curious, does the B-type prototype Double Zeta also do this? Give me one moment.
I think so. I know it has has the hyper mega, the hyper beam sabers.
Yeah, you saw where my mouse was located. Yes, okay. The B type does alter it to have the both the high mega cannon and the back mounted beam cannons. So this is definitely based on specifically the B type prototype Double Zeta, which makes sense. Because that's the one with all the extra armaments.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
I have. Oh wait, we had also. I want to just show at least that it has a few other like it's like G armor.
Oh yes, right.
And
should show that.
G base, and then G top.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And then as for beam weapons, it does have. You can see it in the art or in the forms there as well, but it has the double beam rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Complete with, I believe it still has the cockpit on it, which thinking about the beam rifle having a cockpit on it is always funny.
Yeah, one of those things that just gets us.
Yeah.
And then I have one more little, since we're talking double Zetas. UC Engage gave us a double Zeta, didn't it?
Oh, right. Right.
The Hyper Giga Launcher.
Completely forgot about this, friend.
Easy to do because it's stupid. I don't dislike it, but it's stupid.
Yeah. So does a couple of interesting things here. It's doing the high mega cannon as a separate equipable, which obviously one of the designs that did this first was the F.A.V.N.R from Sentinel, and then of course some later depictions, even though in the anime it does not do this, the full armor Double Zeta does in some later depictions, have this go on where it'll be carrying this as the full armor Double Zeta, which is ridiculous. Not this exact design, but just a similar, handheld high mega cannon. And then here, I forget, does this have a different name in UC Engage? Is this like the high giga cannon?
This is high giga as opposed to the hyper mega.
Yeah, okay.
So this is clearly more powerful, obviously.
Yes, obviously. And it is a ridiculous thing here. It has, beyond the
worth comparing, here is the high mega.
Yeah, which is attached. I mean, it's attached in a similar way, right? You have this attached to one side of the backpack and whatnot. It's just, it's a much uglier gun, in my opinion. It does match the ugly aesthetic of all of the weird improvements that happen in UC Engage, because they also have one of these for the Zeta, one of these for the new Gundam, etc. They have a lot of these like random sort of upgrades. The interesting thing about this gun is, first of all, the handle for it is the gun itself is on like a separate arm there. Like it's connected into the backpack. It has a part that is flipped forward, and then the hand holds it, and then that part itself has like a movable arm, which is,
it makes it feel really toyetic.
Yeah, it's very odd. Then the gun itself is very boxy. you've got a large barrel at the front, as expected. You have a big boxy part at the front here in blue, which mostly just has, like, you have these little gray panels going down the side of it. You've got these little, what might be verniers, because this thing is so large that it should honestly have verniers on it, to help aid with movement, I feel like. The main, like, length of the gun here, it actually thins out towards the middle, interestingly. And it has the pattern that, this is like the recurring ugly thing that I was mentioning in a lot of these UC Engage things. It's got like these lines, like just like these like weird struts of armor on it in dark blue here. And the Zeta also has this on its weapons for the eye field equipment for the Zeta. Like you can see if you look at the shield here for that. It's also got, like, these weird, like, crisscrossing...
like the crosshatch.
It's just weird. Like, it's a common design element on a lot of these UC Engage suits. The other one that has this, in a weird way, at least something that feels similar to me, is if you look at the middle of the C parts for the Victory Gundam ABC, you've also got, like, the armor. Just feels like this is, like, a recurring motif of having, like, these thin V or X-shaped armor pieces, and then you can see more of those on the back of the cannon there. Just, it's a weird motif going on all of these, like, sort of upgrades. Just having these, like, weird parts like this. It's strange to me. I don't understand it. It is beyond me. As to why these have these. But, anyway. Yeah, so... The cannon, though, down the main length, you also have, on the sides, these, like, blue lights that are visible, just running down the side.
Don't mean anything. They're just there.
Yeah.
They're not sensors.
I mean, maybe they are. Maybe this has omnidirectional sensors.
I really bet it doesn't.
I mean, who knows? It does have this, which is, like, a giant scope on the back. This is very vertical with the blue light.
Sure, they ripped the head off the fucking Aegis for this, or whatever.
Yeah, put a Zaft crest on it. And then it's also got another one below here, along with like a little more radome-y type sensor on the bottom there. The little cable on the back of it. It's a very ugly gun. It also adds like an extra set of thrusters to the backpack, it looks like, on the side here.
Like to counterbalance it, I assume for when you're firing?
Yeah. Man, UC Engage has some cool stuff. I don't like any of these, though, for the most part. Like, they are fun to me in concept, and I've kind of, like, gone back and forth on them. I think this one's not very good. I like the name of it, but I don't actually like this design very much. Just, the problem is it looks like a worse version of what already exists with the, handheld high mega cannon for the, the FAS and whatnot.
However, I do have some bad news for you.
What?
Next episode, we're just gonna do a bunch of cleanup of UC Engage.
Of course. Here's the thing: I don't hate all of them. I like. There's a lot of other ones.
Some of them are great.
Yeah, it's just this one sucks. Unfortunately, this one just sucks. Before we move on,
it happens.
Before we end the episode, are there any other missing double Zetas for us?
Probably. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't have an answer for you right now. I bet there are.
Did we ever?
It's tricky because I this is a choice that MAHQ makes that I respect, that they don't do like sort of a family tree the way like a wiki does, right?
Yeah.
But it does mean it's hard to find related stuff like that sometimes, and the Gundam wiki, of course, is hard to use because the fandom wiki is in such a place that like half the time you load a page and it just instantly crashes.
Did we ever cover the F.A.V.N.R? I know we covered some of the Walpurgis units. I couldn't remember if we covered the F.A.V.N.R on that.
Let me check. The last bit was, I know last time I used a site that let me like bypass that stuff. It turns out it works inconsistently because sometimes fandom successfully blocks it, because of course it's not in fandom's interest for it to exist. No, I don't think we did.
Okay, so let me see. Because, okay, yeah, we had this cleanup episode, and this had a bunch of Valpurgis designs. We talked about the Overon, the Masala Glashton. Yeah, we never talked about this. Well, it's another double Zeta, so we may as well throw it in here.
Sure.
This is from Valpurgis. I was thinking about it because this suits in GBO2 as well, and I've seen it a few times. This is the...
Oh, right, I have seen this guy.
The F.A.V.N.R, which is, what if the double Zeta was a Gaplant? Complete with having Chabam armor that makes it look even more like a Gaplant.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is a design from Valpurgis. It has the Grimoire system, which I don't know what the Grimoire system does because I've not read through. I have not read Valpurgis. From what I can gather in GBO2, what it does is it slows everything. It slows everything around it down, and I'm wondering if more in the manga it just speeds up the pilot and their senses or something instead of slowing down everyone around them. I don't know, but it's called the Grimoire system. And yeah, so the F.A.V.N.R though is, yeah, it's essentially a weird double Zeta Gaplant. The head is, a lot of these parts are very double Zeta in design. Just going from like the head, the torso, and whatnot. On the base design, the legs, etc. But on the shoulders, you have these two large binders. They have a beam cannon at the end. They have like a little wing also on the top of it. The colors of this thing are blue, lighter blue, and red and white. It's actually really striking. I like the way these colors look.
It's doing very Gundam Mark V.
Yeah, very, very much so. It is able to transform. It does have an MA mode. Now, its MA mode is a thing where it differs from the double Zeta because I don't think this thing can split apart. I believe it's just always the one, combined
sure.
MA. Which would explain maybe some of the differences on the design, like on like the legs and like, some of the other parts. These legs are the main thing that are like really different for the transformation. It's got like thrusters on the front of them, on the front part here, which I think is fun. Then of course it's got the shoulder binders. It doesn't have the shields on the arms. Instead, it has what appear to be like the beam cannons on the wrist here, or yeah, I believe these are beam cannons, just like built into the wrist.
It seems like they would be. Yeah. If I saw that thing flying at me, I would run the fuck away.
I mean, yeah. And yeah, otherwise it's got a high mega cannon in the forehead. It's got the giant beam sabers that are also beam cannons on the back, the hyper beam sabers. It's got missiles in the backpack as well. So it's got most of your double Zeta stuff. It just also has Chabam armor. The extra Chabam armor, as can be seen with the art there, it's a little fuzzy, but you can see that it adds a headpiece there. The headpiece that it adds is very much a Gaplant head. I do like that it still has the high mega cannon visible there, though, in the middle. It adds some Chabam armor to the chest. This chest armor extends forward to a point, again, emulating the Gaplant chest. For the waist, crotch piece that is added to the top, along with the two skirt pieces, making it look more like the Gaplants. Finally, some other extra areas of Chabam armor are... it gets a piece on the backpack that is like a large plate, like the back binder from the Gaplant. The sides of the legs get these little, I'm wondering if these have thrusters in the end. It's kind of hard to see if they do.
It seems like they must.
Yeah. Again, gives it the more bell-bottom-y look of the Gaplant on the outside bottom there. And then the feet, you have extended toe parts as well as extended parts on the heel on the back there. So it's just a bunch of extra armor thrown around it. It is obviously purgeable. And then the other thing this has is the F.A.V.N.R system. I do not know what that stands for, unfortunately. It's F.A.V.N.R, which is a new type enhancement system that increases the performance of new type pilots. It also increases aggression and gives them temporary insanity.
Sure.
Because no one has any creativity with this. Not to be rude, I'm just saying, look, I like a system that makes you sicko mode. There's more you can do with this, though.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, listen, you said it was like the Wing Zero, and you're not wrong, or the Zero system, but like the Zero system, the way they explain it working is really cool.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, oh, it just sees whatever's on your mind and tries to predict the worst possible outcome of what you're thinking about right now.
I didn't notice this, actually. This actually does have 2 more beam cannons on the back here, too. Instead of just having the top ones, it actually has 2 bottom ones as well. Along with, I like that it's got 3 thrusters inside of, like, embedded inside of the bottom of the double Zeta thruster wells instead of just the double big ones. It's just got 3 smaller ones there. But yeah, I think the suit is a really cool looking suit. I don't know if the suit...
Definitely.
I don't remember if the suit even existed when we had done that cleanup, because this is like a bit of a later Walpurgis suit.
Well, who knows?
Yeah. But it's neat. I quite like this design. And yeah, it's in GBO too. So, all right, there we go. May as well do our random double Zeta cleanup at the end of a request for L-Gaim stuff. But
sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, 6. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Sixtetmar, SIXDETTMAR. You can find my work at scanlinemedia.com or patreon.com/scanlinemedia, and you can talk to us about this or any other Scanline Media works on the Scanline Media Discord, link in the show notes. Dylan, what about you?
You can find me at lowpolyrobot.busky.social. I'm on Busky. And yeah, I just kind of post whatever I'm doing, whether that is watching anime or most recently getting into Racing Lagoon, which is quite fun. That's Square's RPG racing game for the PS1. The translation is so good. I love how overwrought everything is in it. It's all... It very much cares about the street racing, and that is the thing that matters in it. And you are always getting lines like, from my most recent screenshot, "This city is one big prison. Inmates eye each other greedily, but in the pursuit of speed, we take back our freedom." Or just other things like that. It's a very melancholic setting, because it's like a weird, like, the city is like, there's like, it's like a city that, like, you know, was being built up during the economic bubble, and then now seems to have gone stagnant. It's Bay Lagoon, as it is called, Neo Seaside City, Bay Lagoon, which I'm thinking it's probably like an artificial island type city. It's my assumption, but yeah,
it's very cool. Are you aware of 04 Champ?
What is 04 Champ?
04 Champ is a God, what system was it? Fucking damn it, my brain, I'm having trouble right now. PC Engine game, 91, that is kind of like a precursor. I think it doesn't have the same edge to it, but it is like a narrative heavy, like, sort of JRPG-y racing game. I can send you some... Here, actually, I should just post... We've got a fucking thing right here. I'll post them on the video. It just got an English release, like an English translation, like, last week.
Oh, okay. So. I need to play more PC Engine games. It's like... It's funny, because it's like, I've gone through, in terms of, like, you know, various consoles that I haven't played a lot of. I've gone through a lot of PC 98 and PC 88 things. I've never really gone through the TurboGrafx / PC Engine, like, ever. Either region of games. It's just one of the ones where I've not really played any of them. I have them. I believe I downloaded a full, like, you know, ROM set for it, but, I mean, I have the same, you know, in terms of, like, other weird consoles that are just not as popular or known relative to our generation. You know, it's like how I've also never played a 3DO game, even though I do have, you know, bunch of 3DO games saved, and then the Amiga, I have every like a full Amiga ROM set. I have a lot of ROM sets I've just not gone through because there are more games that exist than I will ever be able to play in my lifetime, and I acknowledge this.
Sure.
You know, but yeah, I have played some MSX games, funnily enough. That's the one where I have actually played some. But yeah, no, I have a full, PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16 list. I just never played any of these. I should. Though, of course, for this, I'll have to download the translation.
The translator notes that it has a distinctly risque sense of humor. You've been warned.
That makes sense, honestly, from...
I mean, yeah, PC Engine, yeah.
Well, it feels like some of the Japanese-only consoles that weren't, like, Nintendo were, for a period, a bit more okay with adult content and whatnot and risque content on them. It's interesting, because I feel like the PlayStation, like, Sony and Nintendo had, like, more of a hard line against this, but, like, the Saturn has, like, games with nudity in it, you know? It doesn't have, I don't think it has any, like, full-on eroge, but it does have games with nudity, which is just not something that you really think of in that era of games, because it feels like a lot of these, do not get, do not get them. But, like, the PC Engine, I believe the MSX, etc., they are... Feels like it's more of a, you could just kind of do what you want on them. The best-selling game for the PC Engine is Bonk's Adventure. This child has a huge head.
Oh, you're not familiar with Bonk?
Nope. No fucking clue. This is a weird little caveman child with a gigantic head. They've even described him. The protagonist is Bonk, a strong and bald cave boy who battles anthropomorphic dinosaurs and other prehistoric enemies.
Yeah,
never played Bonk. Bonk's Adventure. But yeah. You know, actually, in terms of, like, a weird console I did have, because I saw... My dad had randomly gifted me this. I assume he got it when he was doing the thing where he was just picking up stuff from the Salvation Army, because my dad had flirted in and out with homelessness and whatnot, so he would get, Salvation Army stuff. He had gifted me an Atari Jaguar in, like, 2006 or something. That was a weird system. Atari Jaguar controller. There was, like, a weird controller that had, like, a billion, like... Yeah, here it is. Look at... I guess this is the default controller. I didn't know if this was, like, a special one or not. Look at this fucking controller. It has, like, a pad of just extra buttons on the bottom.
Boy, there were no rules.
You could just do whatever you wanted. It was also an uncomfortable controller. I mean, if it wasn't evident by how it looks, I didn't think it was a very fun controller. I, like, loaded up, like, one game and was like, okay, this sucks, and I have a PS2 and GameCube in this era, so I don't know why my dad randomly gave me this, but, yeah.
I also have discovered there are a bunch of sequels to 04 Champ.
Oh, yeah.
And including a title that I just think is an all-time... title choice, which is 04 Champ Doozy J Type R.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good one. Oh, is that officially licensed Mitsubishi car?
04 Champ is the first ever game to have real licensed cars in it.
Oh, that's a fun distinction.
They did a bunch of licensing with Japanese manufacturers.
Makes sense. It's really funny when you play other things, and it's just like, this is very obviously, like, this car's body, and it just has, like, the logo filed off, and maybe, like, one difference to not get sued. But, yeah. Alright. Well, yeah, 6... oh wait, yeah, no, we already did plugs.
Show me the way to you. Lead me there where you are. It's the only L-Gaim quote I could find. Peace.
That's from the opening. Peace.
That makes sense.